يا أيها الذين آمنوا اصبروا وصابروا ورابطوا واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون.
الله ربنا هو الإله، له من الأسماء ما اصطفاه، الواحد الحي كذا المليك، والملك المالك لا شريك، والصمد السيد والمبين.
السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Welcome everyone to our continuing journey through the Quran. We will continue from where we left off last week in Surah Taha. So just a reminder that Surah Taha, its period of revelation is similar to that of Surah Maryam. It was revealed in Mecca, either during or just after the migration to Habash, and it was definitely revealed before Umar accepted Islam. And the first part of this surah, which we covered last time, was Surah Sabah, relates incidents from the life of Prophet Musa, who the Arabs already acknowledged as a prophet of God because they had already heard about him from the Christians and Jews that lived in the area. So today we will do the second part of the surah, which is primarily concerned with admonition to pay attention to the Quran. So we'll start with ayah 99. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. كذلك نقص عليك من أنباء ما قد سبق وقد آتيناك من لدنا ذكرا من أعرض عنه فإنه يحمل يوم القيامة وزرا خالدين فيه وساء لهم يوم القيامة حملا. This is how we relate to you, O Prophet, some of the stories of the past, and we have certainly granted you a reminder from us. Whoever turns away from it will surely bear the burden of sin. I did the settings off. Yeah, I did that already. So whoever turns away from it will surely bear the burden of sin on the day of judgment, suffering its consequences forever. What an evil burden they will carry on judgment day. So we see here in these ayat that Allah SWT is mentioning that whoever turns away from the Quran will carry a burden of sin on the day of judgment. And this is a very serious matter for us, that turning away from the Quran, Allah SWT, in His sight, this is an offense, it's a crime. Turning away, the word that's used here is a'ada. This means to be averse to something, to have no interest in it. And basically, a person who turns away from the Quran means that they don't bother to pick it up, or to read it, or to act upon it. And Ibn al-Qayyim, the scholar, he wrote that abandoning the Quran can mean various different things, including that person that turns away from listening to it, or believing in it, following it, understanding it, reflecting on it, seeking shifa from it. So this is something for us to ask ourselves that, is my relationship with the Quran as it should be? So whoever turns away from it will surely bear the burden of sin on the day of judgment, suffering its consequences forever. What an evil burden they will carry on judgment day. Beware of the day the trumpet will be blown, and we will gather the wicked on that day, blue-faced from horror and thirst. They will whisper among themselves, "You stayed no more than 10 days on the earth." We know best what they will say. The most reasonable of them will say, "You stayed no more than a day." And so we see here that on the Day of Judgment, the entire worldly life that we have passed through, it will seem like just one day, a very, very short amount of time. And, the question to ask ourselves is that for this short amount of time, how much effort do we put in to work for the dunya? Whereas that eternal life that we're heading for, how much effort do we put in to work for that eternal life versus this very short time in our dunya? We continue with verse 105. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْجِبَالِ فَقُلْ يَنْسِفُهَا رَبِّي نَسْفًا. And if they ask you, O Prophet, about the mountains, then say, "My Lord will wipe them out completely, leaving the earth level and bare, with neither depressions nor elevations to be seen." On that day, all will follow the caller for assembly, and none will dare to deviate. All voices will be hushed before the most compassionate. Only whispers will be heard. On that day, no intercession will be of any benefit, except by those granted permission by the most compassionate, and whose words are agreeable to him. He fully knows what is ahead of them and what is behind them, but they cannot encompass him in their knowledge. So, these ayat kind of make a scene for us of the time of the Day of Judgment and the stages before it. But imagine that scene, that the earth has been leveled to a plain, with no valleys or hills, just completely flat. And all the people will come when called. No one will dare to speak, and there's no sound other than a whisper of footsteps. And intercession will only be taken at that time from the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to intercede, and it will be only accepted for those who Allah approves of. And this is also a warning to us that we shouldn't depend on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam interceding for us, because sometimes people say that, "Oh, of course, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will intercede for all his followers," but no, we have to strive and focus on our own selves, on our ibadah, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, striving to do what pleases him, and not depend on any intercession being available for us. Verse 111. And all faces will be humbled before the ever-living, all-sustaining, and those burdened with wrongdoing will be in loss. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ حَمَلَ ظُلْمًا. Those burdened with wrongdoing will be in loss. So, the one carrying the burden of zulm will be in loss on that day. And again, this is a warning to us to question ourselves and look into ourselves. That are we guilty of anything? Right? We ask Allah to protect us from doing any kind of zulm. Zulm can include shirk, it can include riya, it can include any kind of oppression. And it's not just actively harming someone else that can be called zulm, but it also includes denying someone their rights passively, right? Denying someone what they deserve. So we have to check ourselves on this. But whoever does good and is a believer will have no fear of being wronged or denied their reward. And so we have sent it down as an Arabic Quran, and varied the warnings in it, so perhaps they will shun evil, or it may cause them to be mindful. So, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy and the beauty of the Quran, that He has repeated the messages in the Quran over and over again in different ways, at different times, so that if we didn't understand it in one way, we may understand it in another. فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ الْمَلِكُ الْحَقِّ. Exalted is Allah, the true King. Do not rush to recite a revelation of the Quran, O Prophet, before it is properly conveyed to you. And pray, "My Lord, increase me in knowledge." Rabbi zidni ilma. Allah SWT is teaching the Prophet this dua, which we should also make for ourselves, and it shows us the great importance of seeking knowledge. "O my Lord, increase me in knowledge." Rabbi zidni ilma. This is a dua that we should all read for ourselves. And now we come to a mention of Adam alayhi salam. وَلَقَدْ أَحِدْنَا إِلَى آدَمَ مِنْ قَبْلُ فَنَسِيَ وَلَمْ نَجِدْ لَهُ عَزْمًا. And indeed we once made a covenant with Adam, but he forgot, and so we did not find determination in him. And remember when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam, so they all did, but not Iblis, who refused arrogantly. So we cautioned, O Adam, this is surely an enemy to you and to your wife, so do not let him drive you both out of paradise, for you, O Adam, would then suffer hardship. Here it is guaranteed that you will never go hungry or unclothed, meaning in paradise. Nor will you ever suffer from thirst or the sun's heat. But Shaitan whispered to him, saying, O Adam, shall I show you the tree of immortality and a kingdom that does not fade away? So they both ate from the tree, and then their nakedness was exposed to them, prompting them to cover themselves with leaves from paradise. So Adam disobeyed his Lord, and so lost his way. Then his Lord chose him for his grace, accepted his repentance, and guided him rightly. So in these ayat we see that Adam alayhi salam was beguiled by Shaitan, he was tricked, and he made a mistake. But he realized his mistake, he confessed and repented, and he turned back to serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there's a lesson for us here that this is the way to follow. The example shown to us by Adam alayhi salam of repentance and turning back. Because inevitably we will make mistakes. Of course we will try our best not to, but we will make mistakes, and instead of taking the way of Shaitan, who stubbornly sticks to his error and is arrogant and just harms himself, we should take the way of Adam alayhi salam, of doing tawbah, seeking forgiveness, and mending others. Allah said, descends. Sorry. Allah said, descend both of you from here together with Shaitan as enemies to each other. Then when guidance comes to you from me, whoever follows my guidance will neither go astray in this life nor suffer in the next. So, in this we see a beautiful mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is promising, this is Allah's promise to us, that whoever reads the Quran and acts upon it, that person will not go astray in this world nor suffer in the hereafter. That is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise to us. But whoever turns away from my reminder will certainly have a miserable life. Then we will raise them up blind on the day of judgment. They will cry, my Lord, why have you raised me up blind, although I used to see? Allah will respond, it is so. Just as our revelations came to you and you neglected them, so today you are neglected. This is how we reward whoever transgresses and does not believe in the revelations of their Lord. And the punishment of the hereafter is far more severe and more lasting. And so, just as we just mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has that promise of that whoever reads the Quran and acts upon it will not go astray. Similarly, in contrast, we see that those who turn away from the Quran, they will have a wretched life. In this world, the Quran is light for us, right? It's a way that shows us the path. And the one who abandons this light here, they will be raised on the day of judgment without any light, figuratively. They will be in darkness. In this life, having a wretched life, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will not have, material provisions, but it means that they will have depression and inner restriction and no real happiness. And this also refers to constriction in the grave, right? Whereas we know that the righteous people will have, inshallah, a spacious grave like a garden of paradise. And the main lesson for us here that we have to really hold on to and understand is that the way we deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book today is how we will be dealt with tomorrow. It's very, very important for us to have a very strong relationship with the Quran. Not just reciting it, but really reflecting on it, trying our best to bring it into our practice in the life. continue. It is not yet clear to them how many peoples we destroyed before them. Sorry, is it not yet clear to them how many peoples we destroyed before them, whose ruins they still pass by? Surely in this are signs for people of sound judgment. Had it not been for a prior decree from your Lord, O Prophet, and a term already set, their instant doom would have been inevitable. So be patient, O Prophet, with what they say, and glorify the praises of your Lord before sunrise and before sunset, and glorify him in the hours of the night and at both ends of the day, so that you may be pleased with the reward. So here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is advising the Prophet and also the believers with him, and this extends to us as well in our present day circumstances. But we are advised to have patience with regard to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment of the disbelievers. Right? We do see how the disbelievers are doing so much of them, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us to be patient. He has His own plan and His own time for them, and we are encouraged to have sabr, to have fortitude, to go on conveying the message. We know that we have our mission of conveying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's message. And we also see a great emphasis here that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, places great emphasis on salah. Because salah helps us to develop patience and contentment and being content with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will. So, these are all especially important when we're working to convey the true message. So again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is telling us to have sabr, to do tasbih, to have salah throughout the day at different times, and don't look at the people who have been given worldly splendor with envy. Focus on what is better and more lasting, as we see in this next slide. Do not let your eyes crave what we have allowed some of the disbelievers to enjoy, the fleeting splendor of this worldly life, which we test them with. But your Lord's provision in the hereafter is far better and more lasting. So, don't let your eyes, let yourself feel jealous or envious of any of the good things of the dunya that disbelievers have been given. They're just being tested with it. Bid your people to pray and be diligent in observing it. We do not ask you to provide, it is we who provide for you. And the ultimate outcome is only for the people of righteousness. So again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging us to pray, and we should also encourage our families and those around us to pray. Salah is very important for developing all those good qualities in study. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that those who pray, inshallah, will receive Allah's favor and rizq. They demand, if only he could bring us a sign from his Lord. Have they not already received a confirmation of what is in earlier scriptures? Had we destroyed them with a torment before this prophet came, they would have surely argued, Our Lord, if only you had sent us a messenger, we would have followed your revelations before being humiliated and put to shame. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that this is the excuse they would have given if they had been punished or tormented before the prophet came to them. They would have said, oh, if you had sent a messenger, we would have believed. But now they haven't sent a messenger. Say to them, O Prophet, each of us is waiting. So keep waiting. You will soon know who is on the straight path and is rightly guided. That is the conclusion of Surah Taha, and the most important lesson that we can take from this part of the surah is really to make sure that the Quran is made a companion in our lives. Right? We want to make sure that we recite it, understand it, reflect on it, and act upon it. Keep reviewing it, encouraging our families as well. And just remember that the way we treat the Quran today is how we will be treated tomorrow. Okay. Now, inshallah, we will continue to the next surah, which is Surah Al-Anbiya. So this surah, Surah Al-Anbiya, was most likely revealed in the third stage of the Prophet's life in Mecca, around the same stage as the revelation of Surah Al-Kahf and Maryam and Taha. They're all of a group. When the persecution of the Quraysh had increased. And the main topics and the main subjects that are discussed in this surah are, regarding the conflict between the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the chiefs of Makkah. What the biggest issues at that time were, their objections and doubts concerning his prophethood, and their objections regarding the teachings of Tawheed and the Akhirah. And they had major issues with that. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقترب من Sorry, just a second. Okay. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اقترب للناس حسابهم وهم في غفلة معرضون ما يأتيهم من ذكر من ربهم محدث إلا استمعوه وهم يلعبون لاهية قلوبهم وأسروا النجوى الذين ظلموا هل هذا إلا بشر مثلكم أفتأتون السحر وأنتم تبصرون. The time of people's judgment has drawn near, yet they are heedlessly turning away. Whatever new reminder comes to them from their Lord, they only listen to it jokingly, with their hearts totally distracted. The evildoers would converse secretly, saying, "Is this one not human like yourselves? Would you fall for this witchcraft, even though you can clearly see?" So this surah starts out with mentioning the time of reckoning, right? The time of people's judgment, meaning the time of death and the day of judgment. And we know that this is drawing near every month. Every passing moment of our lives, we are just getting closer and closer to the time of our death and the time of the day of judgment. And in the next ayat, Allah SWT mentions that some people, when they listen to the Quran, their hearts are distracted. They're not actually listening. Their hearts are distracted and they're completely inattentive, and so they will get no benefit from it. And may Allah SWT protect us from such inattentiveness and disrespect towards the Quran. And here they mention that, he's just a human like yourself. So, would you fall for this witchcraft? The people of Mecca would dismiss the Prophet ﷺ, the mushrikeen would, and the impact of the Quran that he's just human and this is magic. And Rasulullah ﷺ, he had a special charm in his personality and his character and his words, but they would accuse him of all sorts of things just to put down and not give any importance to the message. The Prophet responded, "My Lord fully knows every word spoken in the heavens and the earth, for he is the all-hearing, all-knowing." So, Rasulullah ﷺ, he would not, bother getting into arguing with them over the insults that they were saying to him. He would just say, "My Lord knows what you're saying." Yet they say, "This Quran is a set of confused dreams. No, he has fabricated it. No, he must be a poet. So let him bring us a tangible sign like those prophets went before." So, you see that they accused him of, just conveying dreams that were mixed up, or that he's inventing stories, that he's just saying poetry. And the mushrikeen of Makkah, the Quraysh leaders, they even started a campaign of false propaganda against him, so that visitors to Makkah would stay away from him. But the funny thing is that the opposite happened. Their campaign of false propaganda just made him more well known than if they hadn't done that. Not a single society we destroyed before them ever believed after receiving the signs. Will these pagans then believe? meaning they're demanding a sign, but no other society that had received the sign believed after receiving the sign. So will these be different? We did not send messengers before you, O Prophet, except mere men inspired by us. If you polytheists do not know this already, then ask those who have knowledge of the scriptures. Meaning, Allah SWT is telling the mushrikeen to go ahead and ask those who have knowledge of the scriptures. So there are, for example, the Jews and Christians that are around them, were former messengers non-human. And even though the Jews of that time were clearly against the Prophet, but they could definitely tell anyone who asked them that yes, okay, our messengers who were our previous prophets, they were all human beings. They weren't something else. And another lesson for us here, Allah says, ask those who have knowledge. When we ourselves don't know about something, we should ask and find out. We shouldn't just be content to stay ignorant about something. And especially regarding our deen and living our lives according to the Quran, we should and must ask questions to help ourselves understand and to improve ourselves. We did not give those messengers supernatural bodies that did not eat food, nor were they immortal. Then we fulfilled our promise to them, saving them along with whoever we willed and destroying the transgressors. لقد أنزلنا إليكم كتابا فيه ذكرهم أفلا تعقلون. We have surely revealed to you a book in which there is glory for you. Will you not then understand? And this Quran deals with the subject of us, right? It's about us. Our good aspects are mentioned here as well as our mistakes. And when we read the Quran, it helps us to really know and understand ourselves, right? We really we really need to study the Quran because it will help. It helps to bring honor and glory to those who follow us, right? Allah SWT says there is glory in this for you. And it also mentions things that you and I need to know, right? It has details related to our deen, what Allah SWT has commanded us to do, and if we didn't know those things, we'd be in darkness, right? So through this Quran, we see the criterion for what is considered good, what is considered evil, what qualities are considered to be, very good, high moral qualities, and it's a complete, it's a completely helpful and essential book for us, and we really have to study the Quran. Verse 11. Imagine how many societies of wrongdoers we have destroyed, raising up other people after them. When the wrongdoers sensed the arrival of our torment, they started to run away from their cities. They were told, do not run away, return to your luxuries and your homes, so you may be questioned about your fate. قَالُوا يَا وَيْلَنَا إِنَّا كُنَّا ظَالِمِينَ. They cried, woe to us, we have surely been wrongdoers. They kept repeating their cry until we mowed them down, leaving them lifeless. So, really woe to these people. There's so many people even today. Allah is speaking about communities that have passed away, but we can even see today that there are so many who spend the majority of their lives in heedlessness, just pursuing their desires, running after the dunya, and then they only realize when it's too late that it was all for nothing. May Allah SWT save us from such lives of heedlessness. Verse 16. We did not create the heavens and the earth and everything in between for sport. So, Allah SWT, He didn't need to create human beings just for fun. There's a purpose behind our creation. Had we intended to take some amusement, we could have found it in our presence if that had been our will. In fact, we hurl the truth against falsehood, leaving it crushed, and it quickly vanishes. And woe be to you for what you claim. To Him belong all those in the heavens and the earth. And those nearest to Him are not too proud to worship Him, nor do they tire Him. Meaning the angels who are near Allah SWT, they are so humble and they are so, ceaseless in their worship that they're never tired of praising and worshiping Allah SWT. And of course, we on the other hand, we do get tired sometimes of ibadah, we lose interest, we get distracted. And there's one etiquette that we're taught of reading Quran, that when you're reading Quran and you start to get tired, you should take a break. Don't push yourself too far that you begin to resent it. Freshen up and then restart. At the same time, it is good to push ourselves a bit, to make some effort. And we should set goals for ourselves, for tilawah, for adhkar. And inshallah, we will also be able to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala well. They glorify Him day and night, never wavering. Or have they taken gods from the earth who can raise the dead? So this is referring to the mushrikin, of course. Had there been other gods besides Allah in the heavens or the earth, both realms would have surely been corrupted. So glorified is Allah, Lord of the throne, far above what they claim. He cannot be questioned about what He does, but they will all be questioned. So we see here that both realms would surely have been corrupted if there was, any multiple authorities or multiple gods, as the mushrikin claim, then the harmony that we see on heaven and earth would not exist, right? There would be absolute chaos. And we know that anytime you have any group or thing that has multiple people that own it, then that thing becomes a mess. But subhanAllah, we can see in all this beauty around us of the earth and the heavens that everything is in harmony, and that is proof. That is clear proof that they are under the authority of one God. And not only that, not only that each part of the heaven and the earth is running in harmony and in good order, but that the different parts are also working well together. And that is also because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala overseeing and managing everything. And this, very important, that Allah cannot be questioned about what He does. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need to answer to anyone. Right? But we all need to answer to Him. We are His servants. We are His creatures. We are in need of answering to Him, and we will be questioned. But nothing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does is to be questioned. He doesn't need to answer to Him. Verse 24, or have they taken other gods besides Him? Say, O Prophet, show me your proof. Here's the Quran, the reminder for those with me, along with earlier scriptures, the reminder for those before me. But most of them do not know the truth, so they turn away. We never sent a messenger before you, O Prophet, without revealing to him, there is no God worthy of worship except me, so worship me alone. So, of course, this was the message that every scripture and every messenger brought. From the beginning of time, every single messenger brought this one basic message that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Regardless of how the particular deen of that time of that messenger may have had particular details that were different, but this was the main core message that every messenger brought. And they say the most compassionate has offspring. Glory be to Him. In fact, those angels are only His honored servants, who do not speak until He has spoken, only acting at His command. He fully knows what is ahead of them and what is behind them. They do not intercede except for whom He approves, and they tremble in awe of Him. Whoever of them were to say, I am a God besides Him, they would be rewarded with hell by us. This is how we reward the wrongdoers. So, of course, none of the angels or the righteous people that later people made into idols or to be worshipped as shirk, none of them would ever have said this. But if any did, they would have been punished. And this is also a reminder to us to beware of raising anyone, any prophet or anybody, in a higher in rank than what their reality was, right? Like, for example, we know that people say all sorts of exaggerations about Rasulullah, and, for example, what he will do on the Day of Judgment, and now the beloved that he may say something that even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be able to refuse him, something like that. So we do not believe in these things. We do not raise anyone above the rank that is actually theirs. Ayah 30. Do the disbelievers not realize that the heavens and earth were once one mass, then we split them apart? And we created from water every living thing. Will they not then believe? And we have placed firm mountains upon the earth, so it does not shake with them, and made it in broad pathways, so they may find their way. And we have made the sky a well-protected canopy. Still they turn away from its signs. And he is the one who created the day and the night, the sun and the moon, each traveling in an orbit. So we see in these ayat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning particular physical signs of creation. For example, that the skies and the earth were once one joined entity, right? They were all one mass, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought them into existence the way we see them today. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions other creations. And all of this has a purpose. And we should remember that we're supposed to spend the time that we're here in serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But, as he mentions here, still they turn away from its signs, right? They're not paying attention or giving the proper thought to these signs. And a lesson for us is that it's very important for us to pay attention to both kinds of ayat. Both these ayat, the verses revealed by Allah, and also the signs that Allah Ta'ala has placed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in creation all around us. Right? There are many things that we take for granted because we may see them every day and we just start taking them for granted. But if we stop and ponder, study, reflect, learn with the correct intention, then inshallah that will help increase our iman. Ayah 34. We have not granted immortality to any human before you, O Prophet. So if you die, will they live forever? Every soul will taste death. And we test you, O humanity, with good and evil as a trial, and then to us you will all be returned. Now, in these ayat, we have, a very important truth of life mentioned, right? That every soul will taste death, and it's a must for every living being. We know this, right? And we also know, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in this ayah, that we will all be tested with good and evil. And so we will definitely be tested with both good and bad conditions. And both of those are trials, and we have to be ready for this. There's never all ease or all hardship in this life, right? Our own experiences can attest to this. And our patience and our gratitude are tested through these trials. Right? Going through difficulty, it can help us to be less attached to worldly pleasures, and inshallah it will help us to be more inclined to giving charity, or to basically to parting with material pleasures. Because when we went through difficulty, we realized that this is not these things are not helpful. When the disbelievers see you, O Prophet, they only make fun of you, saying, "Is this the one who speaks ill of your gods?" While they disbelieve at the mention of the most compassionate. Humankind is made of haste. I will soon show you my signs, so do not ask me to hasten them. So, here, خُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ مِنْ عَجَلٍ. As human beings, we have been created with some impatience and haste as part of our nature. We get impatient, we panic, we worry about things, and then we end up not really living fully in our present. Sometimes we worry about what happened in the past, so that might happen again, and then we get anxious. But, it is possible, and we need to manage and control this hastiness and this anxiety. So in the next ayah, in the same ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ. So do not ask me to hasten them. Right? Allah Ta'ala is telling us, don't be impatient. And how can we not be impatient? What are some things that we can do? to help ourselves be more um, be more conscious and present and deliberate. Or we can practice mindfulness. We can try to take things one at a time. Don't get overwhelmed thinking of everything that happened in the past, everything that might happen in the future. And this kind of anxiety can lead to hastiness and poorly thought out decisions. Allah SWT has also created in us the capacity to be calm, not just hasty. And some people already have it in their natures. You will see some people that are very calm and deliberate, and then others can make themselves calm. Inshallah. They ask the believers, when will this threat come to pass if what you say is true? If only the disbelievers knew that a time will come when they will not be able to keep the fire off their faces or backs, nor will they be helped. In fact, the hour will take them by surprise, leaving them stunned, so they will not be able to avert it, nor will it be delayed for them. Other messengers had already been ridiculed before you, O Prophet, but those who mocked them were overtaken by what they used to ridicule. Ask them, O Prophet, who can defend you by day or by night against the most compassionate? Still they turn away from the remembrance of their Lord. Or do they have gods other than us that can protect them? They cannot even protect themselves, nor will they be aided against us. In fact, we have allowed enjoyment for these Meccans and their forefathers for such a long time that they took it for granted. Do they not see that we gradually reduce their land from its borders? Is it they who will then prevail? So, sort of a principle here is mentioned that sometimes when people have been enjoying the good life and prosperity for a long time, they start to take it for granted, and most people will start to forget about living to please Allah SWT. They'll forget about checking their actions. They may forget about the akhirah, that they will be called to account, because they get very comfortable with that prosperity and that good life. And they may even begin to see prosperity as their right. They forget that it's all in the control of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is something that we have to check with ourselves as well, that if we are having prosperity and good times right now, it is something that should not make us proud and just becoming used to giving to our desires all the time. It should make us grateful and always remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say, O Prophet, I warn you only by revelation, but the deaf cannot hear the call when they are warned. If they were touched by even a breath of your Lord's torment, they would certainly cry, woe to us, we have really been wrongdoers. We set up the scales of justice on the day of judgment, so no soul will be wronged in the least. And even if a deed is the weight of a mustard seed, we will bring it forth, and sufficient are we as a vigilant reckoner. So on the day of judgment, we know, and we have full belief in this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will set up the scales upon which our deeds will be weighed. And this scale is a very sensitive and just scale. Although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He doesn't actually need a scale to do this, He Himself is the most just. But, the important lesson for us to see here is that فَلَا تَظْلَمُوا نَفْسًا شَيْئًا وَإِنْ كَانَ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ مِنْ خَرْدَلٍ آتَيْنَا بِهَا. That no one will be wronged in the least, even if a deed is the weight of a mustard seed, we will bring it forth. So even a very small deed of ours will have its own weight. It's important for us to pay attention to the small deeds and not, disregard them. Especially throughout the year, but also right now in Ramadan, that words are thicker. They seem small to us, but they have a great weight on the scale of our deeds. And so we should do a lot of it. We should keep our tongues moist with remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night. And those will count much for us, inshallah. Indeed, we granted Moses and Aaron, Musa and Harun, the decisive authority, a light and a reminder for the righteous, who are in awe of their Lord without seeing him and are fearful of the hour. Okay? How are the righteous described here? That they're in awe of their Lord without seeing him, and they fear the hour. وَهَذَا ذِكْرٌ مُبَارَكٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ أَفَأَنْتُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. And this Quran is a blessed reminder which we have revealed. Will you pagans then deny it? So, this book, this Quran is called Mubarak here. It's highly blessed. It's full of barakah. And barakah by itself means increase and permanence and growth, right? The benefit of this Quran is endless. There's so many kinds of benefits that are in this Quran for us. Spiritually, materially, without risk, without ibadah, our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so many ways that we can benefit from this Quran. So, take this blessed book for the blessing that it is, a great gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and spend as much time as you can with it. And indeed, we had granted Ibrahim sound judgment early on, for we knew him well to be worthy of it. Remember when he questioned his father and his people, "What are these statues to which you are so devoted?" They replied, "We found our forefathers worshipping them." He responded, "Indeed, you and your forefathers have been clearly astray." They asked, "Have you come to us with the truth, or is this a joke?" He replied, "In fact, your Lord is the Lord of the heavens and the earth, who created them both, and to that I bear witness." Then he said to himself, "My Allah, I will surely plot against your idols after you have turned your backs and gone away." So he smashed them into pieces, except the biggest of them, so they might turn to it for answers. They protested, "Who dared do this to our gods? It must be an evildoer." Some said, "We heard a young man called Ibrahim speaking ill of them." They demanded, "Bring him before the eyes of the people, so that they may witness his trial." They asked, "Was it you who did this to our gods, O Ibrahim?" He replied sarcastically, "No, this one, the biggest of them, did it. So ask them if they can talk." So here we see in this incident that's mentioned that Prophet Ibrahim, he took this drastic step of breaking all the idols except the largest. And he did this to make them realize how powerless those idols were. Like he meant to say, ask them. And they did realize, as we see in the next ayah, that they spoke amongst each other and they did realize that he was right and they were wrong. So they came back to their senses, saying to one another, "You yourselves are truly the wrongdoers." Then they quickly regressed to their original mindset, arguing, "You already know that these idols cannot talk." So, despite admitting amongst themselves that he was right and they were wrong, they went back to their stubborn wrong belief. He rebuked them, "Do you then worship instead of Allah what can neither benefit nor harm you in any way? Shame on you and whatever you worship instead of Allah. Do you not have any sense?" They concluded, "Burn him up to avenge your gods if you must act." قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. We ordered, "O fire, be cool and safe for Ibrahim." They had sought to harm him, but we made them the worst losers. So, this is a great miracle that Allah SWT granted, that those people plotted to burn Ibrahim a.s. alive, but the fire, any fire, any of the physical laws that we know, they work by the permission of Allah SWT. Fire burns by the permission of Allah, and He can do as He wills. So He commanded the fire to become cool and safe. Then we delivered him, along with Lut, to the land we had showered with blessings for all people. And this is referring to the land of Jerusalem. And we blessed him with Ishaq as a son, and Yaqub as a grandson, as an additional favor, making all of them righteous. So, Hazrat Ibrahim Islam, he was blessed not just with righteous children, but righteous grandchildren as well, and more. Allah SWT granted him even more than he had asked for. Right? Prophet Ibrahim, we see in another place in the Quran that he had asked for righteous children, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him even more. And we should know this for ourselves as well, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, He is limitless in His bounty and in what He has, and He can give us much more than we ask. When we take steps towards Him, have full faith and trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you much, much more than you ask. In Ayah 73, we also made them leaders, guiding by our command, and inspired them to do good deeds, establish prayer, and pay alms tax, and they were devoted to our worship. And to Lut we gave wisdom and knowledge, and delivered him from the society engrossed in shameful practices. They were certainly an evil, rebellious people. And we admitted him into our mercy, for he was truly one of the righteous. And remember when Nuh had cried out to us earlier. So we responded to him and delivered him and his family from the great distress. And we made him prevail over those who had rejected our signs. They were truly an evil people, so we drowned them all. And remember when Daud and Sulaiman passed judgment regarding the crops ruined at night by someone's sheep, and we were witness to their judgments. We guided young Sulaiman to a fairer settlement and granted each of them wisdom and knowledge. We subjected the mountains as well as the birds to him our praises along with Daud. It is we who did it all. So this incident that is mentioned here in Ayah 78, regarding a shepherd's sheep that ran into a neighboring farmer's field and completely destroyed it. And so the farmer and the shepherd, they came to Prophet Dawood alayhi salam for judgment, and he ruled that the farmer should keep the sheep. And Sulaiman alayhi salam was also there. He's the son of Prophet Dawood, and he said no. So his judgment or his understanding was that no, the farmer should be given the sheep to benefit from until the shepherd takes care of the field and restores it. And then the flock should be returned to the shepherd. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam special understanding of this case, right? As we see here in Ayah 79, آتَيْنَا حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا. Sorry, here. فَفَحَّمْنَاهَا. So, we guided him to a fairer settlement. So, whenever you're struggling to understand something or some issue, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you good comprehension and understanding regarding that thing and being able to make a good judgment regarding it. And another thing to note here is that even though Sulaiman alayhi salam is the son and he's younger, in this case, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him a better understanding. So, we should be aware that sometimes those who are younger or less experienced than us, they may happen to understand something better through Allah's blessing. So don't automatically discount a younger or inexperienced person's views, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may have given them understanding of a particular situation. And we also, we see that even though Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, his judgment was incorrect, but still he has no blame put on him, because he was still judging according to his best understanding and ability. So, he is still rewarded for that. And then in these ayat is also mentioned the various blessings given to both Dawood and Sulaiman in Islam, right? We taught him, ayah 80, we taught him the art of making body armor to protect you in battle. Will you then be grateful? And to Sulaiman we subjected the raging winds blowing by his command to the land we had showered with blessings. It is we who know everything. And we subjected some jinn that dived for him and performed other duties. It is we who kept them in check. So in these ayat we see that the prophets, they weren't just given spiritual knowledge, but they also had worldly knowledge, right? Dawood alayhi salam could work iron very easily, and he was able to make armor. And Sulaiman alayhi salam could control the wind and the jinn by Allah's will and permission. And remember when Ayub cried out to his Lord, I have been touched with adversity, and you are the most merciful of the merciful. وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مُسَنِّي الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. Right? In Prophet Ayyub's situation, we see that like we know for ourselves that every person will have some kind of affliction, right? Every person has some kind of adversity, whether in their health or family or children or their circumstances. And if that particular problem continues for a long time, then even that duration of time adds to the pain. And Ayyub alayhi salam had this particular affliction for many years. And he was not just tested in his health, but also in his wealth and his family. So he had suffering and trial in all aspects of his life. Yet still, subhanAllah, how he says that I've been touched with adversity. Right? He's not complaining that I've been absolutely wiped out with difficulty. I've just been touched with adversity. And how does he address Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He says that you are the most merciful of the merciful. Arhamar Rahimeen. He calls to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so beautifully, right? He's not complaining, and he has so much patience. And there's a great lesson in this for us, that we need to keep things in perspective and not look at a problem as much larger than it is, right? It can be easy to do that sometimes. That's something that's bothering us, or it has become difficult. We let it have too much importance, but we have to actually keep things in perspective, and think that, okay, even though I have this problem, don't I also have other things that are good? And we also have to remember, in Yusra, with difficulty comes ease, right? So in Prophet Ayyub alayhi salam, we see a very excellent example of patience and gratitude. So we answered his prayer and removed his adversity and gave him back his family, twice as many, as a mercy from us and a lesson for the devoted worshippers. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests his servants however he wills. As we just read in a few ayahs ago, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not to be questioned about what he decides, right? We will be questioned about how we responded to that difficulty or that test. So when going through some difficulty, also, we shouldn't think negatively about ourselves, or we shouldn't judge others that we see going through a difficulty. Sometimes a person thinks, oh, I'm having this or this problem, I must be very bad. Allah must be punishing me. We shouldn't think that way. Ayyub alayhi salam, he was a very righteous servant of Allah, yet he was tested. Right? He wasn't being punished. And it's true that trials can affect us because of our sins, but for those who are righteous worshippers and righteous servants, those trials are really just a means of purification. Right? They're a means of getting closer to Allah and attaining reward. So no matter what you're going through, see it as an opportunity to focus on your ibadah, to improve yourself, and never ever hate yourself or think that God hates you. Never ever think that. In the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, whoever Allah wishes good for, he puts to trial. And in another hadith, he mentioned that when Allah loves a people, he tests them. So whoever is patient, then he will have patience. And whoever is impatient, that is what he will have. So basically the lesson for us, always respond with sabr, focus on your ibadah, and treat it as a test. Okay, ayah 85. And remember Ismail and Idris and Zulkifl. They were all steadfast. Okay, so they were all kullum min as-sabirin. They were all steadfast. They all were people of sabr. We admitted them into our mercy, for they were truly of the righteous. Innahum min as-salihin. And remember when the man of the whale stormed off from his city in a rage, thinking we would not restrain him. Right, so here Hazrat Yunus is mentioned, and his title in this ayah is the man of the whale. Then in the veils of darkness he cried out, there is no God worthy of worship except you. Glory be to you, I have certainly done wrong. Now there's a very important dua here that we should all learn. It has great importance to it. But we see here Prophet Yunus Islam, he left the city, he was upset and angry, and he thought that he didn't realize at that time that he was doing something wrong, but he realized it later. And sometimes this happens with us too. We find ourselves in a hardship or some problem, and then upon reflection, we realize that, oh, this may have been because of my own wrong actions that I'm now in this problem. But even then, even if that problem was because of our own causing, we can still call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for relief. Right? As we see in the next ayah, so we answered his prayer and rescued him from anguish, and so do we save the true believers. So, this is Allah SWT saying that He saves and delivers the true believers, and this dua is for all of us. Okay, we should use this dua anytime we have any difficulty, any problem, sadness, distress, or worry. Let's see what this dua is, like He said. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minal zalimin. And for those of you who are taking notes or underlining in your mushaf, I haven't mentioned anything like this before, but this is something definitely to note for ourselves, that this is a very special dua that we should all learn and use. And there's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he said, should I not tell you of something which if a person says when stricken with distress or a trial from the trials of this world and prays to Allah, Allah will remove it from him? So the Sahaba said, yes, tell us. He said, the dua of the Nun, yani this dua, right? And there are several other hadith that confirm the great effectiveness of this dua, so we should definitely use it. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu minal zalimin. Continuing ayah 89. And remember when Zakaria cried out to his Lord, my Lord, do not leave me childless, though you are the best of successors. And remember we read about Prophet Zakaria at the beginning of Surah Maryam as well, when he was making that dua. So we answered his prayer, granting him Yahya, and made his wife fertile. Indeed, they used to race in doing good, and call upon us with hope and fear, totally humbling themselves before us. So, see this, that وَيَدْعُونَنَا رَغَبًا وَرَهَبًا. They called upon us with hope and fear, وَكَانُوا لَنَا خَاشِعِينَ, totally humbling themselves. Right? So a lesson for us here is that if we want our du'as to be accepted, what do we need to do? We need to have hope and fear. So, and here fear means that, we should refrain from anything that Allah SWT doesn't approve of. Right? We should fear Allah SWT in our actions and in our daily lives, that, am I doing something, anything haram? Is there any haram anywhere in my life that may be the reason I'm deprived of rizq and of good provision? And then also, they used to race in doing good. So we should also try to excel in doing good deeds and push ourselves and strive in that regard. Inshallah, may Allah help us to be among His most blessed servants who are doing good. And remember the one who guarded her chastity. So we breathed into her through our angel Jibreel, making her and her son a sign for all peoples. So of course this is referring to Hazrat Maryam alayhi salam. O prophets, indeed this religion of yours is only one, and I am your Lord, so worship me alone. Yet the people have divided it into sects, but to us they will all return. So again, as we just read in one of the previous ayahs, all of the prophets had one religion, one message only, and that was to worship only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And through what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, we see that all of the prophets, they faced different kinds of tribulations and trials and tests, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought them all relief. So whoever does good and is a believer will never be denied the reward for their striving, for we are recording it all. So we have to focus on our effort, and we have to know that it will be appreciated and not overlooked, inshallah. It is impossible for a society which we have destroyed to ever rise again, until after Yajuj and Majuj, Gog and Magog, have broken loose from the barrier, swarming down from every hill, ushering in the true promise. Then, behold, the disbelievers will stare in horror, crying, "Oh, woe to us! We have truly been heedless of this. In fact, we have been wrongdoers." Certainly, you disbelievers and whatever you worship instead of Allah will be the fuel of hell. You are all bound to enter it. Had those idols been true gods, they would not have entered it, and they will be there forever. In it they will groan and will not be able to hear. Surely those for whom we have destined the finest reward will be kept far away from hell. So now, we're seeing the contrast of the people of Jannah, not even hearing the slightest hissing from it, and they will delight forever in what their souls desire. The supreme horror of that day will not disturb them, and the angels will greet them, saying, "This is your day, which you have been promised." On that day we will roll up the heavens like a scroll of writings. Just as we produced the first creation, so shall we reproduce it. That is a promise binding on us. We truly uphold our promises. Surely, following the heavenly record, we decreed in the scriptures, "My righteous servants shall inherit the land." And the land mentioned here is the land of Jannah, the land of paradise. Surely this Quran is sufficient as a reminder for those devoted to worship. إِنَّ فِي هَذَا لَبَلَاغًا لِقَوْمٍ عَابِدِينَ. For those who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have to keep listening and taking reminders from the Quran. Very important. We have sent you, O Prophet, only as a mercy for the whole world. Say, what has been revealed to me is this: your God is only one God. Will you then submit? So we know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was sent as a mercy for everyone. Many have benefited from his mercy, and many are benefiting today, and they will in the hereafter as well. But only those who believe in him and actually follow him will benefit from his mercy. He was sent to rescue people from hell, not to condemn them to it. And whenever he was asked to invoke or pray against certain people, he would say, "I was not sent as a la'an. I was not sent as someone who curses. I was sent as a mercy." If they turn away, then say, "I have warned you all equally. I do not know if what you are threatened with is near or far," meaning the day of judgment. Allah surely knows what you say openly and whatever you hide. I do not know if this delay is possibly a test for you and an enjoyment for a while, meaning the delay in a punishment coming upon them. It could be a test. In the end, the Prophet said, "My Lord, judge between us in truth." قال ربي أحكم بالحق وربنا الرحمن المستعان على ما تصفون. And our Lord is the most compassionate, whose help is sought against what you claim. This is a beautiful, beautiful response to all the false accusations that the people of Makkah, the mushrikeen of Makkah, hurled against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and everything that he suffered. That this is the attitude and the reply that he gave, that my Lord is the judge between us, and I only seek his help against what you accuse me of. Alhamdulillah, sadaqallahu azim. So we come to the end of Surah Al-Anbiya, and inshallah we'll move on to our next surah, is Surah Al-Hajj. And just give me one moment. Would you like to start?
Calling all Muslim youth. Looking for a community where you can belong, grow, and make a difference? Join us as we come together to learn and grow in our faith, build connections, explore new ideas, and make a positive impact. Join YM Sisters today.
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So we begin with Surah Al-Hajj. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم إن زلزلة الساعة شيء عظيم يوم ترونها تذهل كل مرضعة عما أرضعت وتضع كل ذات حمل حملها وترى الناس سكارى وما هم بسكارى ولكن عذاب الله شديد. So Surah Al-Hajj is a surah that has both Makki and Madani ayat in it, and this was most likely revealed towards the end of Rasulullah's time in Mecca and the beginning of his time in Medina after the Hijrah. So up to about the first 24 ayahs or so, those are Makki ayat, and then from verse 25 onwards, they are Madani. So, Ayah 1. O humanity, fear your Lord, for the violent quaking at the hour is surely a dreadful thing. So we know that the Day of Judgment will have an earthquake as part of its initial stages, and it will be a very severe earthquake, so strong, as we learn from other places in the Quran, that the earth will throw out whatever is in it. And we learn other things about it as well. The day you see it, every nursing mother will abandon what she is nursing, and every pregnant woman will deliver her burden prematurely. And you will see people as if they were drunk, though they will not be drunk, but the torment of Allah is terribly severe. Still, there are some who dispute about Allah without knowledge and follow every rebellious devil. So, we see here that going astray starts with arrogance and with arguing and ignorance and, just following desires. It has been decreed for such devils that whoever takes them as a guide will be misguided and led by them into the torment of the blaze. O humanity, if you are in doubt about the resurrection, then know that we did create you from dust, then from a sperm ball, then developed you into a clinging clot, then a lump of flesh, fully formed or unformed, in order to demonstrate our power to you. So in this ayat and the next couple of ayat, we're being given proofs of resurrection through how people are born and also how the earth is resurrected. So I'll just continue from this ayat. Then we settle whatever embryo we will in the womb for an appointed term, then bring you forth as infants so that you may reach your prime. Some of you may die young, while others are left to reach the most feeble stage of life, so that they may know nothing after having known much. And, we can see examples of this around us, right? That what sometimes happens in old age, that, after having reached the prime of life, we can reach a stage where we don't know and can't do the things that we were able to do before. And you see the earth lifeless, but as soon as we send down rain upon it, it begins to stir to life and swell, producing every type of pleasant plant. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these ayat, He gives us examples to help us see the proof of resurrection, right? That if He can create human beings from something so tiny that you can't even see it, then surely He can recreate us after we've already been created once. That is because Allah alone is the truth. He alone gives life to the dead, and He alone is most capable of everything. And certainly the hour is coming, there's no doubt about it, and Allah will surely resurrect those in the grave. Still, there are some who dispute about Allah without knowledge, guidance, or an enlightened scripture, turning away in pride to lead others astray from Allah's way. They will suffer disgrace in this world, and on the day of judgment we will make them taste the torment of burning. They will be told, this is the reward for what your hands have done, and Allah is never unjust to His creation. And there are some who worship Allah on the verge of faith. If they are blessed with something good, they are content with it. But if they are afflicted with a trial, they relapse into disbelief, losing this world and the hereafter. That is truly the clearest loss. Sorry, so I'm actually going to go back to ayahs 8 to 10, speaking of those who are arrogantly and ignorant and leading others away as well. An important lesson here is that for us to stay humble and accept what we learn from the Quran, especially from revealed sources. And it's important for us to not be arrogant. And anytime we do have questions to ask, it should be asked from a place of respect and humility, right? Not like this person that Allah was mentioning, who is just disputing and arguing without any knowledge or guidance. We have to remind ourselves that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows and I do not know. And these days, this is a problem because we humans, yes, we've advanced a lot in science and technology in many fields, and so sometimes people start to think that we know everything or just about everything, whereas in actuality we really know very, very little. We only know the amount that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed us to know. And it's also very important for us to believe in the unseen, even if we haven't seen that thing with our own eyes, and especially when someone trustworthy and honest and reliable, like the Prophet, is telling us. I mean, we believe in other things that we haven't seen, right? We believe in things like viruses or various gases and their properties, all different things that we learn about through science and technology without having actually seen them with our own eyes. So, of course, these beliefs that we should have in our deen of things that are unseen are even more important. Okay, and then going on to verse 11 that we read already, this person who is on the verge of faith. This is وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهِ عَلَى حَدٍ. This is someone who is worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the edge. And this is a person who, that if he receives certain blessings, he stays on Islam, but if he's touched by hardship, he leaves Islam. And from hadith, we learned that this actually happened, that this ayah was revealed regarding certain people who came to Medina to embrace Islam. And if after their acceptance they experienced some sort of worldly benefit or prosperity, or, they received some wealth or whatever, they would say, oh, this religion is really good. But if they suffered any loss, they'd say, oh, this religion is bad. And we actually have hadith and traditions that mention someone who gave the oath of allegiance to Rasulullah and accepted Islam, and then afterwards he became very ill, and he sent a message to Rasulullah saying, I take back my oath, because he attributed his illness to Islam, which is obviously very wrong. So we can't do this. We know that problems are a part of life, and we should learn from them and not blame Allah or Islam for the problems that we may have. And as we've been seeing all along, and just in the previous surah, that tests and trials are just part of life, and we have to hold on to the Quran and the Sunnah, and see how we should behave in those trials. Okay, Ayah 12. They call besides Allah what can neither harm nor benefit them. That is truly the farthest one can stray. They invoke those whose worship leads to harm, not benefit. What an evil patron and what an evil associate. Indeed, Allah will admit those who believe and do good into gardens underneath which rivers flow. Surely Allah does what He wills. Whoever thinks that Allah will not help His Prophet in this world and the hereafter, let them stretch out a rope to the ceiling and strangle themselves. Then let them see if this plan will do away with the cause of their rage. So there are various different interpretations of this ayah, but the basic lesson here is that we should not get upset and angry with life's challenges. Accept them and be steadfast, and Allah's help will come. This is these ayahs are referring to those people who think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not with His Prophet, and can they do anything to to frustrate His plan? No, they can't. And so we revealed this Quran as clear verses, and Allah certainly guides whoever He wills. Indeed, the believers, Jews, Sabians, Christians, Najmi, and the polytheists, Allah will judge between them all on Judgment Day. Surely Allah is a witness over all things. Do you not see that to Allah bow down in submission all those in the heavens and all those on the earth, as well as the sun, the moon, the stars, the mountains, the trees, and all living beings, as well as many humans? While many are deserving of punishment. And whoever Allah disgraces, none can honor. Surely Allah does what He wills. This is also an ayah of sajda, so when you do the tilawah of this ayah, it requires a sajda. Ayah 19. These are two opposing groups that disagree about their Lord. As for the disbelievers, garments of fire will be cut out for them, and boiling water will be poured over their heads, melting whatever is in their bellies along with their skin, and awaiting them are maces of iron. Whenever they try to escape from hell out of anguish, they will be forced back into it and will be told, taste the torment of burning. Ayah 23. But Allah will surely admit those who believe and do good into gardens under which rivers flow, where they will be adorned with bracelets of gold and pearls, and their clothing will be silk. For they have been guided to the best of speech, and they have been guided to the commendable path. إن الله يدخل الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار يحلون فيها من أساور من ذهب ولؤلؤ وَلِبَاسُهُمْ فِيهَا حَرِيرٌ. This is so beautiful, such a beautiful contrast to those previous ayahs mentioning what the people of hellfire will have. That, bracelets of gold and pearls are mentioned. And in paradise, the jewelry of a believer, it is said it will reach as far as the wudu reaches. So if you want to wear jewelry in Jannah, make sure you do your wudu frequently and properly. And they were guided to accept the best of speech, and here the best of speech means the Quran and the Kalima. They followed and accepted this, and so this is why they're guided to the path of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides them. وَهُدُوا إِلَى الطَّيِّبِ. Ayah 25. Okay, so actually, so now at the end of Ayah 24, we come to an end of the ayat that were revealed in Mecca, and now we will begin the part that was revealed in Medina. And just as background, most likely these coming ayat, they were sent down in the month of Dhul Hijjah, in the very first year after Hijrah. And the Muslims had been, especially those who had been forced to leave Mecca, they may naturally have been thinking in the month of Dhul Hijjah about Hajj, and feeling sadness and sorrow that they were being banned by the mushriks from coming there, right? So these verses mention, in these ayah, we will see a reminder, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us of the specific purpose that the Kaaba, Masjid al-Haram, was built for. And what was that purpose? It was the worship of one Allah. right? Yet, ironically, at this point, it has become a place for the rituals of shirk, and the worshippers of one Allah are banned from visiting it. So, it's an absolute reversal of what it should be. So, permission is given in these in these ayat to wage war against the tyrants and to oust them, and to establish the righteous way of life there, to establish virtue and eliminate evil. And so many scholars are of the opinion that verse 39 of the surah, which we'll come to, it's the first verse revealed that grants Muslims permission to wage war. We know that when the Muslims were in Makkah, they had been told to, stay their hands from war and not to fight. And so we're now coming to the ayah where their first time that they're given permission to fight. Okay, so ayah 25. Indeed, those who persist in disbelief and hinder others from the way of Allah and from the sacred mosque, which we have appointed for all people, residents and visitors alike, along with whoever intends to deviate by doing wrong in it, we will cause them to taste a painful punishment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, painful punishment for those who are stopping others from the way of Allah and from coming to the Kaaba. And, it's made clear here that every Muslim has equal right to access Masjid al-Haram. So the Kaaba and its surrounding area is not the personal property of any family or the residents of Makkah or anything like that. That is that is equally available to every single Muslim. And remember when we assigned to Ibrahim the site of the house, saying, do not associate anything with me in worship, and purify my house for those who circle the Kaaba, stand in prayer, and bow and prostrate themselves. So Hazrat Ibrahim is commanded at the time that he's building the Kaaba, do not do shirk, and that this house has to be kept clean and pure, both spiritually, in terms of worship, and also physically. Call all people to the pilgrimage. They will come to you on foot and on every lean camel from every distant path, so they may obtain the benefits in store for them, and pronounce the name of Allah on appointed days over the sacrificial animals He has provided for them. So eat from their meat and feed the desperately poor. So this is a reminder to us that those first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah are the very best days of the year. And Hajj itself has many benefits for us, and those days of Dhul Hijjah are days that we should really exert ourselves to do, as many good deeds, as much good as we can, as much bad as we can, inshallah. Then let them groom themselves, fulfill their vows, and circle the ancient house. That is so. And whoever honors the rituals of Allah, it is best for them in the sight of their Lord. And here it's mentioned, وَمَن يُعَظِّمْ حُرُّمَاتِ اللَّهِ. حُرُّمَاتِ اللَّهِ. So what are the rituals of Allah, the symbols of Allah? This refers to basically anything that's part of our deen, right? So the Kaaba, the Quran, any other symbols of our deen, like the hijab, or a man who keeps a beard as following the Sunnah. Any of those, we are to honor those rituals. It's best for them in the sight of their Lord. The meat of cattle has been made lawful for you, except what has already been recited to you. So shun the impurity of idolatry, and shun words of falsehood. Be upright in devotion to Allah, associating none with Him in worship. For whoever associates others with Allah is like someone who has fallen from the sky and is either snatched away by birds or swept by the wind to a remote place. So, Allah SWT here is metaphorically saying that someone who does shirk is like someone who has been, tricked and beguiled by the shayateen, or they've let their own lust and desires just take them lower and lower That is so, and whoever honors the symbols of Allah, it is certainly out of the piety of heart. So again, ذلك ومن يعظم شعائر الله فإنها من التقوى القلوب. So as I mentioned before, what are the symbols of Allah? Any of those symbols that represent part of our deen. And very important note here that taqwa al-qulub, the piety of the heart, all of these rituals, all the things that we do as part of our deen, they are external acts that have to be done with taqwa in our heart. Right? They can't just be outward acts. It's the taqwa inside that really sets them apart. It's the taqwa that reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You may benefit from sacrificial animals for an appointed term. Then their place of sacrifice is at the ancient house. For every community, we appointed a rite of sacrifice so that they may pronounce the name of Allah over the sacrificial animals He has provided for them. For your God is only one God, so submit yourselves to Him alone, and give good news, O Prophet, to the humble. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُخْبِتِينَ. So now we will see who are the humble. الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَالصَّابِرِينَ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَهُمْ وَالْمُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Give good news, O Prophet, to the humble, those whose hearts tremble at the remembrance of Allah, who patiently endure whatever may befall them, and who establish prayer and donate from what we have provided for them. Right? So we see here 4 particular attributes mentioned of who is a truly humble person. Humble doesn't just mean looking down and speaking softly. Right? The 4 attributes Allah SWT mentions here, and we should check ourselves that, do I have this attribute? Do I need to work on this? The first is that their hearts are filled with awe when Allah is mentioned. The second is that they endure, they have sabr with whatever happens, whatever befalls them. The third is that they establish salah, not just pray, but actually establish salah. They're not lazy or arrogant with it. And number 4, they spend from what they've been given, what they've been provided with. Okay, Ayah 36. We have made sacrificial camels and cattle among the symbols of Allah, in which there is much good for you. So pronounce the name of Allah over them when they are lined up for sacrifice. Once they have fallen lifeless on their sides, you may eat from their meat and feed the needy, those who do not beg and those who do. In this way we have subjected these animals to you so that you may be grateful. Neither their meat nor blood reaches Allah, rather it is your piety that reaches Him. So again we have this mention of taqwa. It's not the external act, it's the taqwa that counts and matters most. This is how He has subjected them to you, so that you may proclaim the greatness of Allah for what He has guided you to, and give good news to the good doers. The taqwa matters. Of course, it also matters that we do those external acts in the way that we've been prescribed to do. That matters as well. But as Allah SWT is saying here, it is the taqwa that reaches Him. Indeed, Allah defends those who believe. Surely Allah does not like whoever is deceitful and ungrateful. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ كُلَّ خَوَّانٍ كَفُورٍ. So, Allah defends those who believe. And whoever is deceitful and ungrateful, that would refer to the mushrikeen and those who deny Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أُذِنَ لِلَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَ بِأَنَّهُمْ ظُلِمُوا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى نَصْرِهِمْ لَقَدِيرٌ. So, Ayah 39, permission to fight back is hereby granted to those being fought, for they have been wronged, and Allah is truly most capable of helping them prevail. So, we see here that the Muslims are given permission to stand up and fight here, to take revenge, because they have been wronged. and they've been given this permission to break the power of the oppressors and stop their oppression. Ayah 40. They are those who have been expelled from their homes for no reason other than proclaiming, "Our Lord is Allah." Had Allah not repelled the aggression of some people by means of others, destruction would have surely claimed monasteries, churches, synagogues, and mosques, in which Allah's name is often mentioned. Allah will certainly help those who stand up for Him. Allah is truly all-powerful, almighty. Ayah 41. They are those who, if established in the land by us, would perform prayer, pay alms tax, encourage what is good, and forbid what is evil. And with Allah rests the outcome of all affairs. So this means that those, Allah SWT repels the evil by means of these good people. Those who stand up for Him are the ones who have these qualities, that if they are established in the land, and if these good people do come into power in the land, what do? They perform the salah, they pay the zakat, they encourage what is good and forbid what is evil. This is how they are when they're in charge. And with Allah rests the outcome of all affairs. If they deny you, O Prophet, so did the people of Nuh before them, as well as the tribes of Ad and Thamud, the people of Ibrahim, the people of Lut, and the residents of Midian. And Musa was denied too. So Allah SWT is consoling Rasulullah SAW in a way that as your people are denying you, so the previous prophets have also had their people deny them. Nothing new. But I delayed the fate of the disbelievers until their appointed time, then seized them. And how severe was my response. Many are the societies we have destroyed for persisting in wrongdoing, leaving them in total ruin. Many are also the abandoned wells and lofty palaces. So we can even see in like modern archaeological findings, there are many places around the world where we see, great structures and buildings left behind by people who are themselves no longer here. Had they not traveled throughout the land so that their hearts may reason and their ears may listen? Indeed, it is not the eyes that are blind, but it is the hearts in the chest that grow blind. So, even though our eyes can physically see, we have to have hearts that also see. Ayah 47, they challenge you, O Prophet, to hasten the torment. And Allah will never fail in His promise. But a day with your Lord is indeed like 1,000 years by your counting. Many are the societies whose end we delayed while they did wrong, then seized them, and to me is the final return. So we see, wrongdoing and dhulm happening now, and as we mentioned before, this is part of Allah SWT's plan and His own way of doing things, and we don't need to feel impatient that so and so people are doing wrong, why aren't they being punished? They will be, and we have to stay firm on what we are supposed to be doing. And everyone is, returning to Allah SWT anyways. Okay. Ayah 49. Say, O Prophet, O humanity, I am only sent to you with a clear warning. So those who believe and do good will have forgiveness and an honorable provision. But those who strive to discredit our revelations, they will be the residents of the hellfire. Whenever we sent a messenger or a prophet before you, O Prophet, and he recited our revelations, Shaitan would influence people's understanding of his recitation. But eventually Allah would eliminate Shaitan's influence. Then Allah would firmly establish His revelations, and Allah is all-knowing, all-wise. Wallahu alimun hakim. So, here we see that Shaitan always would try to throw in some sort of misunderstanding or to disturb the speech or the recitation of the prophets in some way, whether Prophet Muhammad ﷺ or the prophets who came before him. But Allah SWT would counteract that and not allow that to succeed. All that so he may make Shaitan's influence a trial for those hypocrites whose hearts are sick, and those disbelievers whose hearts are hardened. Surely the wrongdoers are totally engrossed in opposition. This is also so that those gifted with knowledge would know that this revelation is the truth from your Lord, so they had faith in it, and so their hearts would submit humbly to it. And Allah surely guides the believers to the straight path. So in these ayah 52 to 54, we'll see that three kinds of people are mentioned, three kinds of hearts are mentioned. First of all are those whose hearts have a disease. Right? Those whose hearts have a disease, their faith isn't complete, and so Shaitan manages to affect their hearts. They're put into trial. They're shaky. Then the second group is those whose hearts are hardened. وَالْقَاسِيَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ. And those whose hearts are hardened, they're not affected by any warnings or advice given to them. It doesn't make any effect on them. And they very easily get influenced by Shaitan's words. Because those words of Shaitan, they just confirm the biases and the wrong ideas they already had in their heart. And then thirdly, we see, in Ayah 54, we see those who are people of knowledge, right? Their hearts are soft, tender, they are, believing and humble. And Shaitanic words don't influence them. They don't affect them. In fact, they do the opposite, that they actually strengthen them in their faith. They see the truth even more clearly. And, an example comes to me that I heard once in a class. Well, like we know, for example, that just about every living thing Allah SWT has created in pairs. But there is, there will be the odd example of some living creature that has not been created in a pair. And so, some people who fall into Shaitan's waswasa, they will say that, and they'll use that as an example of something in nature that is like an example for a wrong way of life. Whereas others who are firm in their belief, they'll say that, oh no, that is just an example of Allah SWT's power, that He can do as He wills, and He doesn't have to conform, to having everything this way. He can also make something in a different way, and it's just an example of His might and power. So, those who have knowledge and they have firm iman, they will not be swayed in the wrong direction by satanic words and ideas. It will just make them even stronger in their faith and make things even more clear for them. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَهَادِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. Allah surely guides the believers to the straight path. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always guide us and keep us on the straight path as well. Amen. Ayah 55. Yet the disbelievers will persist in doubt about this revelation until the hour takes them by surprise, or the torment of a terminating day comes to them. All authority on that day is for Allah alone. He will judge between them. So those who believe and do good will be in the gardens of bliss. Allahumma inni as'aluka al-jannah. But those who disbelieve and deny our revelations, it is they who will suffer a humiliating punishment. As for those who emigrate in the cause of Allah and then are martyred or die, Allah will indeed grant them a good provision. Surely Allah is the best provider. He will certainly admit them into a place they will be pleased with, for Allah is truly all-knowing, most forbearing. Inna Allaha alimun halim. That is so, and whoever retaliates in equivalence to the injury they have received, and then are wronged again, Allah will certainly help them. Surely Allah is ever pardoning, all forgiving. So in this ayah, we see that this is Allah's promise that He will certainly help the oppressed. And the Prophet ﷺ, he warned us against the prayer of the oppressed. He said, fear the prayer of the oppressed. And Allah SWT has also said about Himself that by my honor and might I will surely help the oppressed, even if it is after a time. And also from this ayah we can understand that someone who takes revenge that is equal to the wrong that's been done to him, then that person is not considered an aggressor. Right? He's not doing dhulm if he's only taking revenge that is equal in magnitude to what was done to him. Right? The zalim, the real zalim, is the one who initiates the dhulm. Ayah 61. That is because Allah causes the night to merge into the day and the day into the night. Indeed, Allah is all-hearing, all-seeing. Inna Allaha sami'un basir. That is because Allah alone is the truth. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقِّ. And what they invoke besides Him is falsehood. And Allah alone is truly the Most High, all great. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْكَبِيرُ. Do you not see that Allah sends down rain from the sky, then the earth becomes green? Surely Allah is most subtle, all aware. Inna Allah latifun khabir. To Him belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth. Allah alone is truly the self-sufficient, the praiseworthy. Inna Allaha lahu al-ghaniyyul hamid. Do you not see that Allah has subjected to you whatever is in the earth, as well as the ships that sail through the sea by His command? He keeps the sky from falling down on the earth except by His permission. Surely Allah is ever gracious and most merciful to humanity. Inna Allaha bin-nasi la ra'ufur rahim. And He is the one who gave you life, then will cause you to die, and then will bring you back to life. But surely humankind is ever ungrateful. For every community we appointed a code of life to follow, so do not let them dispute with you, O Prophet, in this matter, and invite all to your Lord, for you are truly on the right guidance. So Allah SWT is just mentioning that every community that has passed before us has had its particular deen, even though every prophet brought that same core message of worshipping one Allah, but their deen had particular details to it that were specific to them. And this is not something to argue over, that this deen has these rituals or that rituals. And invite all to your Lord, for you are truly on the right guidance. But if they argue with you, then say, Allah knows best what you do. Allahu a'lamu bima ta'malun. And this is the answer we should give. This is the best way to respond to those who argue with us stubbornly, not to actually arrive at the truth, but just to argue just for the sake of arguing. That we should just remind them that Allah knows what they're doing. Okay? Don't get pulled down into useless arguments with people who are just there to insult and be ignorant. Allah knows best what you do. Ayah 69, Allah will judge between you all on Judgment Day regarding your differences. Do you not know that Allah fully knows whatever is in the heavens and the earth? Surely it is all written in a record. That is certainly easy for Allah. Yet they worship besides Allah that for which He has sent down no authority, and of which they have no knowledge. The wrongdoers will have no helper. Whenever our clear revelations are recited to them, you, O Prophet, recognize rage on the faces of the disbelievers, as if they are going to snap at those who recite our revelations to them. Say, shall I inform you of something far more enraging than that? It is the fire with which Allah has threatened those who disbelieve. What an evil destination. O humanity, a lesson is set forth. So listen to it carefully. So this is, Allah SWT is actually telling us to listen carefully to this example that He's giving us. Those idols you invoke besides Allah can never create so much as a fly, even if they all were to come together for that. And if a fly were to snatch anything away from them, they cannot even retrieve it from the fly. How powerless are those who invoke and those invoked. They have not shown Allah the reverence He deserves. Surely Allah is all-powerful, almighty. Inna Allaha laqawiyyun aziz. So, we see that whether it's regarding the mushrikeen and their idols, or whether it's regarding modern day shirk, which is like atheism and denying God completely, no one can even create something as small as a fly, right? And today we have our modern science and technology, and in general, humanity thinks highly of itself and everything that we've achieved. But what can a person actually do, right? Despite all the advancements of science, we can't, create a creature from nothing. And also, as we see in Ayah 74, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that they have not shown Allah the reverence He deserves. One real problem is that people don't actually understand or recognize who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, what His true power and abilities are. And that is something that we have to work on ourselves as well. Ayah 75. Allah selects messengers from both angels and people, for Allah is truly all-hearing, all-seeing. Inna Allaha sami'un basir. He knows what is ahead of them and what is behind them, and to Allah all matters will be returned for judgment. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اركعوا واسجدوا واعبدوا ربكم وافعلوا الخير لعلكم تفلحون. O believers, bow down and prostrate yourselves, worship your Lord, and do what is good so that you may be successful. And this is also another ayah of that. So, here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us to use our life for good things, right? We should make time for ibadah. We should use our time for doing good deeds, and this is what will really, really make us successful in the truest sense, right? What is real falah? Ayah 78. وجاهدوا في الله حق جهاده هو أجتباكم وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. Strive for the cause of Allah in the way He deserves, for it is He who has chosen you and laid upon you no hardship in the religion, the way of your forefather Ibrahim. It is Allah who named you the ones who submit, yani al-Muslimin, in the earlier scriptures and in this Quran, so that the messenger may be a witness over you, and that you may be witnesses over humanity. So establish prayer, pay alms tax, and hold fast to Allah. He alone is your guardian. What an excellent guardian, and what an excellent helper. We see here that this verse mentions jihad, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us with jihad, strive for the cause of Allah in the way that He deserves. And we know that jihad is a very comprehensive word. It includes every kind of effort, exertion, war, and conflict. Jihad for the cause of Allah, for the sake of Allah, it means that it should be performed for His service and His approval against those who prevent others from following His way. And very important note is that first of all, jihad requires that we should fight against our own selves in order to subdue ourselves. Right? There can't be any true jihad until we first fight any evil that we have in ourselves, our desires and lusts, and bring ourselves into obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you have returned from the lesser jihad to the greater jihad. And it is the jihad against one's own desires and lusts. So we really need to exert ourselves fully, wherever we can against, whether, first of all with ourselves and then anywhere else that we see rebels against Allah's way. With our heart, our mind, our body, and our wealth, we need to do that full exertion. And, we see here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that He has not laid any hardship in the religion. Okay? وَمَا جَعَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ مِنْ حَرْجٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made our deen difficult for us, right? We make it difficult for ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put a lot of ease in our deen, right? And you can see examples of this in many different aspects of our deen, that if we can't do something one way, then there are other allowances and other ways to do it. Right? For example, you see in Salah that when traveling, you're allowed to shorten your prayers, or if you have certain sickness or pain, then you're allowed to pray sitting down. Right? Even for wudu, if you can't find water, if it's difficult, or for some reason you can't use water, you're allowed to be praying. With fasting, you're allowed to make it up if you cannot fast because of sickness or some other reason. So we have a lot of ease in our deen, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made it difficult for us. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says that He is an excellent guardian and an excellent helper, right? هو مولاكم فنعم المولى ونعم النصير. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made our deen easy, but we also should know that we can't follow it without tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so you have to take the first step, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for you, inshallah. Okay? And always try to take good role models and be steadfast in your identity as Muslims, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has named us Muslims. Right? هو سماكم المسلمين. He has named you Muslims. So be firm in that identity that you have as a Muslim. And finally, hold fast to Allah. He alone is your guardian. We need to follow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance exclusively. And with this, we're ending the surah and for today, inshallah. Take this firmly, that obey only Allah. Fear only Him. Put all your hopes and expectations in Him alone. Ask only Him for help. Trust in Him and pray to Him for all your needs. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us.